Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. Every week, check us out. We are brought to you by allaccessmma.com. Check out allaccessmma.com for your video needs, or video podcast and your MMA needs. Ed, heard you went into New York for the UFC weigh-ins. Glad to see you survive that mess, and got to catch a lot of action over the weekend.
Yeah, weird vibe. Not the regular UFC vibe, but it's there's something about Madison Square Garden as far as like sports energy and fueling creative efforts goes, as far as like this thing goes, and just doing combat sports related content goes. I mean, when you think about it, it's funny. I was thinking about it when I was there. I'm like, outside of the networking, I mean, I met Hunter every time there's an MMA. It's all surrounded by combat sports, mostly MMA, Madison Square Garden, including this podcast. When you think about it, I mean, when you just had the conversation about doing this, it was in front of Madison Square Garden. So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those places that I hadn't been to. It was actually my first, as often as I pass underneath it, for getting and doing stuff in the city. I haven't been inside of it just to sit in those seats again, and I only went for the weigh-ins, and it was in the Hulu Theater, but just to get back in there. I mean, I was like, wow, I haven't been in this building since I think the last time I was in there was for the last PFL event.
I was gonna say New Year's Eve,
Yeah,
2020 New Year's Day,
yeah.
basically.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I was there the first day. So it was it was nice to be back in there, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say the vibe was weird as far as like looking at the fans versus what we're used to seeing and what we see now. The UFC fan is definitely a unique beast, and I don't mean. I guess I mean the newer UFC fan, and I know I'm being a bit of a dick by saying that because of that's not us. We're MMA fans, so just that separation was super evident in that environment, and like people were standing up and cheering for nothing was fucking happening. And I even asked one of the guy, I was like, "What are you cheering for?" And the guy was like, "Oh, Patty Pimblett's over there." And I was just like, "All right, is he looking at you or is he like?" No, he just walked in, and I was just like, "All right, just checking." So, but
Yeah.
that was my experience, and in all honesty, I watched them face off. I watched the weigh-ins happen. I put up a quick video up on the YouTube channel doing the YouTube Shorts thing, and after Gaiji and Chandler faced off, I was out. I was like, I don't want to fucking walk out with these herbs, and I said I just left, and I was just like, but even to get near it was weird. Just the way they're controlling everything, and if you watch the press conference for UFC 268, I mean, it's New York seems to bring out. I mean, I think we've been seeing it a lot lately, but when I look at the one for UFC 244 that they did in South Street Seaport, and you look at the one that they did for that Wednesday, just the characters and including Pink Suit Guy. I know he was an ESPN person, but I'm just like, like is this what it is now? Like this is not even news, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to. Yeah.
but
I don't want to get
anyways,
too deep into that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's probably a different breed. There is a new generation of fans, and I see it when I go to the other events, and I kind of just try to take it as appreciate their passion and love for it,
Yeah.
even if it comes off a little weird now. I feel like that's probably what I was like maybe 20 years ago, when Chuck Liddell would walk into the room.
Yeah, no,
I
I've,
don't
I've,
know.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean I don't try to hold it against the newer fans, but it does seem weird to people like us who have been around forever, but we also don't flinch when we see stuff happen that a lot of times makes people jump out of their seats. So
Yeah, I
um
mean, I did not that nothing that happened at 268. Obviously, we'll get to that in a bit, but I mean, we got a lot to get to. But
yeah, so
um,
let's why don't we start it on Friday. You had a midday early start card for Bellator 270 in Ireland. I managed to catch the last couple fights of the night, but I mean, obviously we can jump into that. James Gallagher and Patchy Mix.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
Fun fight. You talk about it, one of those throwback kind of grappling matches. Like I can't even remember any punches thrown in my head. All I feel like it was just guillotine, attack after guillotine attack.
Yeah.
With eventually Mix, getting the finish. But yeah, it was kind of one of those old school Sakuraba, Carlos Newton.
Yeah.
Two of the better grapplers in the
In the
lighter
bantamweight division, yeah.
Yeah, going at it, and with the goal basically for a sub is what the game plan both guys brought into.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was wondering who was going to step away from what they're known, because both of them have a decent amount of submission victories to their records. So I was like, I mean, I had Mix pick to win. I didn't think Gallagher was going to give him so much trouble, but I was also wondering who was going to step away from what we're used to from them, and it looked like nobody did. It was literally they literally both kind of said, "Let's see who's better at this," and it looked like, I mean, it's funny because they kept going for the same move. They even said during the broadcast it was like Battle of the Guillotines.
Yeah, it was like guillotine chicken,
Yeah.
It's like who can get out of it, let's keep going. So, but yeah, big win for Mix. I initially kind of thought Gallagher would win because it was in his backyard. I kind of chalked him up to being pretty much even across the board. Mix, if they fought again, I don't know if the result would be the same or different or what, but just a damn good fight, fun fight I wouldn't mind seeing again down the line if a couple wins down the line for these guys if they end up meeting in a tournament or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, and not to make any excuses or anything like that for or kind of not to knock Mix's victory, but I tweeted it too the next day because I had to watch it. Since I was in the city when it was happening, I had to watch it the following morning. There was a weird, like, I don't know what it was, some weird lump on James Gallagher's back when they were in the first round when they were scrambling, and I tweeted pictures of it, kind of focusing on it, and I don't know if it was an injury or maybe he had some sort of, what do they call that? Like if it was like a beginning of a staph infection or something. I don't know because I just noticed it briefly and then I didn't really see it again. So who knows if that was something that played a factor into his performance. I mean, again, not to knock Patrick Mix's skills or victory, but it was definitely one of my favorite. Again, I mean, I always talk about the 135ers in Bellator, and that was a perfect example of why I like watching them.
Yeah, and I mean, basically, kind of a number one contender, or at least a heavy title eliminator for the winner of Horiguchi and Pettis. So that'll be fun to see how that unfolds. The main event: Patricky Pitbull gets the title shot after his brother relinquishes his 155-pound lightweight title belt in a rematch against Peter Quealy, who beat him via cut several months back. Man, Patricky Pitbull picks up the knockout win. I'm a fan of the Pitbull brothers. I've been lucky enough to see them in person for a long time, going back to the, earlier days of Bellator. Or at least their earlier days, so the 90s, events and stuff like that, the early hundreds. And so to see him get a chance, especially to see him get it from his brother, who basically gave bailed up for him to have the opportunity. They weren't going to fight each other. And it turned out to be a definitive win. So I think everything really worked out as good as it could have for Bellator at this time, considering, they basically had one of their poster guys give up the belt. I did have somebody ask me why he gave up the belt, and obviously I explained the brother situation. But I wondered also, and it seems like a weird question, but also I wondered if that frees him up from the championship clause with Bellator if he were to try to make a run to the UFC. The other, Patricio Pitbull, because as long as he's champion, does he have a championship clause? So I wonder if it was kind of also a way from at the same time. He can go try to get his belt back from McKee, but if he loses to McKee and kind of figures maybe it's McKee's time, he doesn't have that other belt kind of holding him down into a contract with.
That's
Bellator.
that's actually a better question than why he gave up the belt to his brother.
Yeah, but
but yeah, no, I mean that's good. It's funny because with all the he's been super vocal about when Dana White knocked him and so maybe. Especially with, I mean, we're going to get into Chandler's fight when we talk about 268, but he's been putting that out there, like he was the last one to finish Chandler before he went over there, and it's just like how he's definitely kind of felt like he's belonged in that at least to be tried out over there if they wanted to give him a shot. Um, they rarely mention Bellator on the UFC broadcast, except when Michael Chandler's on the screen. They did it again this weekend,
Mhm.
so you never know. I mean that's actually a really good. I didn't even think about that.
And Coker's usually pretty good with those guys. He won't hold them to
No.
their contracts as much as the UFC traditionally, at least from our perspective, from my perspective. But I just wondered that was kind of an out, possibly. That I don't know how many fights he has left on his contract and stuff, but it kind of just gets that off of his back. Now he can aim for getting his belt back, and if that doesn't work out, then like he can basically at that point jump over and test the water in the UFC probably, although at a discounted rate if he were to lose probably again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was Bellator. Saturday also was BKFC. We didn't get a chance to catch up with a ton of it, but Sean Wheelock did speak on it when we had him on last week. In the main event, it was Fight Night New York. Main event was a heavyweight championship fight. Joey Beltran went to defend his title. Unfortunately, he ran into Arnold Adams, who beat him also in BKFC 2 um, by a doctor stoppage. This time, he picks up a unanimous decision to become again the BKFC heavyweight champion. So Arnold Adams, two-time BKFC heavyweight champion. Joey Beltran moves on to cornering his wife this weekend versus Pearl Gonzalez at BKFC uh, 22. So BKFC continues to roll on. They do have a new heavyweight champion. Beltran, very competitive, so I don't think he falls too far out of the mix. Possibly could even see a rematch in one fight down the line. Looks like Josh Burns might be the next to step in and fight Adams for the heavyweight title with his win coming off his quick, like 10-second knockout of Sam Shoemaker. So that basically is that was the BKFC, and then it brought us to really the Combat World's two big highlights for the weekend. Before we jump into UFC, I didn't get a chance to catch the Canelo Plant fight. I did see Canelo won by 11th round finish. I think you had a couple things maybe to say about the fight, but unfortunately, in the
Well,
world of paying for all the fights, I wasn't able to catch everything. So
yeah, no, I was fortunate enough to be somewhere to watch both as they were airing. Shout out to Joe Lopez for hooking up a belated birthday dinner for me. But yo, that little scuffle they had at the Canelo Plant media day, if you remember, if you remember that,
uh-huh.
that was pretty much 11 rounds of that. I mean, if you watch that, Canelo got the best of him in that little few seconds, and it was 11 rounds of that, and he got the 11th round TKO. The one thing I want to say though, before we get into talking about the UFC, is when Frankie Edgar and Chito Vera's fight was happening. We know that went into the third round, and we all know what happened to Edgar because of all the fucked up memes on the internet. But the length of that entire fight was the length of Canelo and Plant walking into the ring to get to their contest. And I said it when I was watching it, and I said it when I did my vlog for MMAnews.com. So, and I really want to get into it. I mean, not spend too much time on it, but I just want to underline it here because we've had, we've had the guys from Last Round podcast on here, and Hector Franco just to talk boxing and stuff. And I know I've said it, so it deserves saying again. The boxing is not boring. There's nothing wrong with boxing. The athletes are fantastic to watch. But it's the promoters that do stupid shit like those entrances and the pacing and all the bullshit that surrounds these old-headed ideas where they think people want to see. Nobody wants to see these elaborate entrances and all that shit. They want to see the fight. Who's talking about that on social media after the fight? No, everyone's been showing. All you've seen is highlights of Canelo's finish, and the entire time that they were walking into the boxing ring, Frankie Edgar and Chito Vera fought their war until Frankie Edgar got finished, and they didn't actually start fighting until the first round of Namajunas Zhang. So I think the only one that has the right head for it is Eddie Hearn, and that was just aggravating to see. on such a Canelo's one of the names that it's like the Fury, Wilder, like those are one of the big names that you have to watch. And it was a great fight. It was a great contest. I mean, not for nothing. I see why. I feel like Caleb Plant is really. I didn't think he was as good as he was, but I mean, it just goes to show that Canelo is I don't know if he's going to get any better than he is right now, but he's very good at boxing to the point that even Dana White was watching that cage side and still said Usman better slow his roll trying to box Canelo. I mean, on top of ending the whole crossover nonsense, but I mean that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, no, I just needed to vent about that because as I'm watching it on two screens, we had the UFC on at the table, and there was one, and even my buddy was like, "They're still walking in," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it."
Well, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you just said. Everything seems to, I didn't get to see that intro, but I know you're talking about it's not the old De La Hoya mariachi band coming in behind him. It's like mariachi band with flying dragons and
at least Canelo. I mean, Canelo did that. He had Mana walk in with and singing a mariachi song, but it was one guy. But it was still through that Jake Paul corridor. That you saw, like they both came in through that corridor. They sang both national anthems, which is cool. You do that at sporting events. Everybody does that if when the occasion calls for it or whatever. But I mean, it's like you did that and you did the entrances, and it's like, not for nothing.
Yeah,
I'm on the East Coast.
No, dude, I hear you. I hear
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it'd be nice to see him streamline that a little bit, but at the same time, I also root for the ramp to come back one day to UFC, but we know that'll never happen for their intros.
But that still was faster than this.
Oh yeah. Oh no, there's no doubt. Boxing can bleed you dry by waiting for the walkouts, and but yeah, I definitely hear you. But yeah,
like it's not the 1950s anymore. Like you got the guy, what's his name in the bow tie? And it's like, come on, we know who's fighting. The signs and their names are all over the place.
It's TikTok Ed. TikTok Ed. He ain't got time for that mess, right?
Yeah.
Oh shit. All right. Well, that was Canelo. Obviously, he's a generational fighter at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, just his only blemish lost to a prime, or as close to a prime Mayweather when he was super young. So crazy talent. But speaking of talent, we got to see a UFC card on Saturday that was as loaded with talent as any card basically in UFC history. I didn't catch everything, although I did catch the vast majority. How about Chris Barnett with the wheel kick knockout? Nothing like seeing like a 5'8", 275-pound dude wheel kick somebody. Wheel kick a 6'4", 255-pound guy.
When they signed him, I was happy that they brought him in there because I've seen a lot of his regional stuff, and I was just like, man, this kid is his first fight in the UFC didn't go. He didn't get to showcase what we saw. I mean, and it sucks that it was Jan Vellante in New York, but I mean, not for nothing. Not only is he like fan friendly, camera friendly, highlight reel friendly, but how respectful was he to give Vellante his time, even though he won the fight? I mean, he gave Vellante all that energy he got off of the win. He just fed it over to Vellante because he knew what that fight was for him and who he is and where they were fighting. And I mean, that's just, again, back to the magic that lives inside of Madison Square Garden. It's moments like that. I mean, one of the takeaways that I wrote about too was on MMAnews.com. There's a sports photographer that passed away due to COVID, and this is a hat tip to the UFC too, because they get a lot of shit for being these cold-hearted corporate assholes, but they actually he's a New York Post photographer, and they put the plaque with his image on it where he would have been stationed to shoot this fight as like a memorial for him. And stuff like that, man. I'm just like, man, that's why these events. I mean, the UFC, when they come to the Garden, they don't come light; they come really good. And this entire card, I watched all the fights. The entire card was definitely. I mean, 268 and the one you went to in Jacksonville might be my two favorite cards this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's pretty accurate. I can't think of anything. I mean, you had other moments. You had the Moreno Figueiredo fight at what 263 and stuff. But overall events, I have to agree with you
Mm-hmm.
that with
Yeah,
that.
that's what I mean. Like whole
Yeah,
cards that I
every
like.
fight,
Yeah.
you had Chris Curtis pull off the knockout. You had guys that had been fighting for a lot of wins, and
Yeah, and that
you know,
messed up my parlay, but even still, I was like, that was that's surprising. That was a
oh,
surprise to me.
you had the Bobby Green. I mean, it was just a night of just weird things. Nobody. I mean, I don't think anybody would have expected Bobby Green to knock out Raging Al or
No.
TKO him in the first round. I mean, literally, it seemed like right when the fight started. And then you had the Alex Piera,
Mm-hmm.
glory champion coming over to UFC, guy who's defeated
Yeah.
Adesanya, I believe, twice. One time by devastating knockout. And he lives up to the hype, flying knee
Mm-hmm.
KO. Just absolutely fireworks. And then, I mean, you get a flying knee KO to end prelims, and then the UFC. It seemed like the UFC did a last minute juggle maybe before the weigh-ins, where they decided that they were going to open the night with the fight that really it seems like everybody kind of came to see. And that
Yeah.
was Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. Again, I was asked
Ooh.
asked about that, and I think I said the same thing Cormier did on the broadcast. It was a smart move because you want the fans to be there earlier. You get the fans there that are looking forward to that fight. They show up a couple prelims early to make sure they don't miss anything. And you
What's
got
crazy? Like people are talking to me about both guys, and I'm talking people that never even heard because they weren't following belt. They weren't following the sport like we do. But they're like, wow, I didn't know anything about Michael Chandler. I didn't like him before, and Michael Chandler lost. But they're Michael Chandler fans now because of that fight against Justin Gaethje. So, I mean, it was definitely. I mean, I haven't been quiet about how much I was looking forward to that. I didn't mind getting that earlier when they said they were going to bump it up to the main card opener. I was 100% for it. And it's funny because the dude I was watching the fights with was like joked around and he was like, "But then I'm gonna want to leave when that fight's over." He's like, "I'm not gonna want to watch the rest of them." And then Shane Burgos and
Billy Quarantillo come out
our
and
boy Billy Q. I mean, yeah, I mean, and then they do like if there's fight of the nights, and even Dana White said he's gonna. I mean, he didn't officially put them on the list of the bonuses given out, but he was like, I got to give them something too, because
no, I mean they had a fight of the year candidate
yeah
following a fight of the decade level candidate.
yeah
I
yeah
mean, yeah, it was back to back. And then you had so Shane Burgos picks up the unanimous decision win, but the back and forth battle. Quarantillo shows tremendous heart. Takes a bit of beating, but both guys just everybody leaving it in the cage. It was
yeah
like fight after
everybody
fight
yeah
of everybody leaving it in the cage. Win or loss, guys were just leaving it on the table. I mean, you had Chandler and Quartillo both get losses on their record, but really probably walk away winners when it's all
oh
said and
there's
done.
everyone that was on this card. I think their stock went up in one way or the other. you
Yeah.
know
No, yeah, no, I agree, pretty much agree with that. We move on from that to then you had Marlon Vera, Frankie Edgar. Obviously, I think all of us, I don't remember. Did you pick Frankie? You were kind of on the fence on this one.
no,
See,
I felt bad about picking Vieira, and Frankie was doing all right up
mhm.
until he wasn't, and I would have been happy if it kept going the way that it was going. It sucks that, I mean, that hurt to watch, and I mean, of course he's a maniac disputing this stoppage with his knees still
Mm,
not underneath
mm.
him, but man,
It happens, dude. Everybody hangs around,
yeah,
no matter who you are or what you've done in this sport. Everybody highlight reels somebody.
someone, yeah,
You all, everybody, but I mean, big win for Vera. I mean, we kind of talked about maybe him not being on the same level of some of these, guys, all those Edgars of the world, but he really, he's got to improve his wrestling because obviously Edgar took him down and controlled him, but to have the resiliency to come back round after round and then finally throw a spectacular kick and really kind of set it up nicely. He was doing some low kicks, and then basically, front kick to the face. And as highlight reel as anything we ever saw from Anderson Silva or Machida for that matter.
hmm
Um, be interesting to see where Frankie Edgar goes from here. I mean, I don't know, maybe just a retirement fight or,
I mean,
you
they
know,
asked him on Wednesday during the media day, and he was like, "You're gonna have to carry me out of there," and it's like, all right, it's cool. That's cool to say and cool to I mean, that's why we like Frankie Edgar, but that it's going to be one of those things that I don't want to see him go longer than he should. We don't want to see him it's not like I hope he doesn't need the money. I doubt that he needs the money, but yeah, that sucked to see. That sucked to
Mhm.
see. At 40 years old, I mean, we've seen how Dana White handles these guys that want to keep going, and he knows that it's time, even if they don't want to recognize it. I mean, he usually does something to but with what he did with BJ Penn, and I think he's doing that with Cerrone. I don't know, but we'll see.
Hmm. Yeah, hopefully that's the case because you don't want it to keep getting worse and worse. You don't want to take too many shots like that.
Yeah,
Holy shit. So that brings us to the co-main event, Rose Namajunas, Weili Zhang. Um, I think it kind of went how we all kind of thought it would, I guess, for the most part. They both, uh, competitive fight, split
yeah, it went
decision.
exactly how I thought it was gonna go. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it was just a battle of two of the better women in the division. They both showed good grappling. Zhang showed better grappling than I had thought she had prior. As we talked about with Hunter last week. But
hmm
Rose, like I said, she used her ring generalship and was able just to
yeah,
outpoint her and do what a veteran,
and
you
that's
know.
that's her third rematch that she wins. Like it's almost like she's the ingredients is if Rose Namajunas gets a rematch, she's probably going to win the rematch.
Mhm.
And I mean, Zhang, being the former champion that she is, well prepared. That division's it's almost like they're tying themselves up. Though I keep thinking about what Marina Rodriguez said about the same people fighting each other over and over again. Um, and that with Rose as champion and Zhang just sitting there still top ranked. You got well. I know they removed Joanna for inactivity, so that kind of helps move other people up. But it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Dana White didn't seem like he wants to. He seems like he still wants to make Carla Esparza sit on the shelf almost as punishment now for waiting for a title fight versus taking a fight that was given to her. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, Rose. I don't know where exact. I guess it's Marina Rodriguez now, like you said, but obviously there's always that fight with Shevchenko, which I don't think she can win, but it's gonna start to get a little momentum if she picks up another win or two. I think it'll be a fight, one of those fights that's kind of hard to avoid unless she just straight out comes out and says she doesn't want to do it. But I think that's might be where we're headed in the next year or two. Main event: Usman Covington 2. Uh, Good fight.
Yeah.
Good fight. I think both guys' stock went up as far as fighters go.
Oh
I think
yeah.
Usman, they both showed some respect at the end of the fight, which was
hmm
cool to see. Some guys kind of squash their beef after spending a ton of time in the cage and really beating the shit out of each other. I know Usman doesn't show it as much as Covington, but Covington was hitting him too. I mean, there was some good back and forth.
yeah.
Some
Yeah.
could argue Covington won the last 3 rounds. It could be. I've seen that argument made. I think a lot of people think he won the last two. There was a 10-8
hmm
there, likely maybe the second round. But I think for somebody to get almost finished like he did in the second round
Yeah.
and then rebound to come back and arguably win three, and then,
hmm
in my opinion, win 4 and 5. Um, just tremendous heart, skill, everything you'd want to see out of championship level fighters. And again, the act aside and everything, I think you're looking at the two best welterweights in the world, um, and especially in the UFC in that fight. So I don't know who really beats either one of these guys. To be honest with you, I think they both probably beat some guys in the near future, and we could possibly be seeing another fight. Maybe the end of next year between these two.
Yeah, I mean, and Colby Covington wasn't shy in the post fight press conference that he definitely wants to do it again. And the thing about what you're just talking about rematches with Rose and Weili, I mean, once fighters cross hands and they experience one another that way, I think something just on both ends increases their chances of victory. And sometimes the loser from the last one can do better. Um, I mean, that's definitely a trilogy that I think that the UFC could sell. I don't think anybody would not be on board with that. And the other thing, Dana White even said, you know, Colby Covington's gimmick sometimes overshadows how good of a mixed martial artist he actually is, and he's such a great competitor, despite his, the whole MAGA thing or whatever he's doing, which he kind of pulled away from I want to say
Mhm.
this week because I mean he was more about first responders and stuff like that instead of the whole MAGA thing, which is, I mean, I get it. I mean, I think he's definitely somebody. Dana White, what did he say at the post fight press conference? Something along the lines of if Kamaru Usman doesn't exist, Kobe's the best welterweight in the UFC, and I wouldn't disagree with that.
No, I agree with him 100%. But
Yeah.
big win for Usman. I'm not. I guess he waits for. I guess Luke is maybe next in line, but him missing weight as an alternate certainly isn't going to gain any
Mm-hmm.
favor,
Mm-hmm.
and might be actually punishable almost by the UFC to keep him away for another fight. I we're gonna get into the moving up talk and all that other stuff, but for right now, I don't see a whole lot other than Covington. Like I said on the podcast last week, those are the only two guys that I could see really beating each other. I don't see a lot of the other guys. Now maybe Luke continues to improve and is able to TKO one of these guys, but I don't know. I don't know. Two tremendous guys, tremendous main event to a tremendous night of action in the whole
Yeah.
state of New York and in the whole world of combat.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I mean, they definitely. I think that was their the eighth highest or gate or sixth highest gate in the Garden or something like that. But the UFC keeps breaking records, and also one thing that I like that Dana White also said in the post fight press conference, which as somebody that covered extensively for Page Two Sports and Front Proof Media, the whole ban on MMA. Somebody asked him about Sheldon Silver, and he was like, "Oh, Sheldon Silver's in jail, and we're number one, so karma's a bitch." And I was just like, you know what, man? Sometimes, man, sometimes you're the fucking guy. So, but yeah, I mean that was great weekend. I mean, and the punches and kicks don't stop. We got Bellator 271 this coming Friday. They're back in Florida, so we brought the card up here from Bellator.com. Valerie Lareda's on the prelims, which are they show on the Bellator and Showtime YouTube channel. So she's fighting Taylor Turner, and we're gonna look at the main card. But I just like to see who's on the. There's some names on the prelims too, which I always like the way Bellator mixes up their card. This fight I'm looking forward to as well. Bruno Ellen versus Desiree Yanez. I feel like she was supposed to fight, or she fought and lost. I know she fought in Combate, but I followed her career. Maybe I'm thinking about her Combate fight, but and then the main card. Obviously, we got a lot of fights to look forward to. So let's why don't we start the jump off from the beginning of the main card.
I got this little maniac here tearing up my room, so she's gonna take a seat hopefully for a second. Yeah, main card: Steve Mowry undefeated, huge heavyweight fights Raheem Cleveland. Uh, Obviously Mowry's on a 9-fight winning streak, being 9-0. Cleveland also on a winning streak of his own. Um, Hard not to go with Mowry. Guy seems like a massive. He's 6'7". Seems to be one of the guys Bellator is really trying to build up as one of the future of their heavyweight division. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Mowry by knockout. You got two big heavyweights like this. Somebody usually crumbles, but
Yeah,
him and his length and stuff, I figure he'll figure out a way to get it done.
looks like a lot of people agree with you too, including myself. Then we got my homegirl Arlene Blenko. Um, I hope she's doing all right. She's been stuck here pretty much since the last fight. So she's fighting Pam Sorensen. I forget what their rankings aren't on here, but it looks like folks are leaning Blenko to win. I like picking Blenko because she's always been cool with me, and she's definitely got a great skill set. She's got good hands, good striking. So I don't see her doing bad, especially if she wants to get back on a win column.
Yeah, I think she picks up the win here too. The veteran Pam Sorenstam, obviously very competitive, but I think Blenko picks up the win here and continues to stay along the top of the featherweight division.
And this one, man, I always get worried when Aaron Pico fights now these days.
Yeah, Aaron Pico on now what I believe it's a 5-fight win streak. Faces Justin Gonzalez, undefeated fighter, brought over from LFA.
Mm-hmm.
Heck of a fight for Pico, and really the first step up fight that he's had, in a sense, over his kind of rebound from his early chaotic first 5-6 fights of his career, where he just fought killer after killer, and had some mixed results. So, um, heck of a fight here. I want to pick Pico, but and I'm going to pick Pico, but I think it's going to be a heck of a fight. And this is we're going to find out where Aaron Pico really is right now. I think as far as if he's ready for the next, a top contender again uh, in the division.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a draw coming, but it's definitely like you said, it's a test. I've seen Justin Gonzalez fight. It's hard for me to. I mean, I can see him giving Pico some problems. I mean, the thing is, we always Pico's got that power in the striking, and sometimes he gets a little too invested in it. And I feel like that's where Justin Gonzalez could, score the upset. Even though, the Bellator fans got 59% of them are picking Pico to win. I mean, I hope he wins, but I mean, it's definitely gonna be an interesting fight to watch.
No, exciting fight.
Yeah.
That's followed by a heavyweight feature bout. Tyrell Fortune on a winning streak following his loss to Tim Johnson. He fights Linton Vassell coming off of two big TKO wins of his own over Sergey Karatanov, and in his last bout finished off Ronnie Marks. So for a guy that moved up to the heavyweight division, he's been super successful against two guys that are at least in Karatanov a borderline title challenger, and in Marks a long time
Mm-hmm.
competitive heavyweight. Um, he fights in this one a young up and coming heavyweight with tremendous wrestling background. I'll be interested to see. Vassell's kind of like Uberim at this point. His last couple fights, he's been huge. I imagine he's still got that same frame going into this one. I mean, he's 6'4", so he's never been a small guy. Um, I I'm gonna go with Fortune with his wrestling. I think he might kind of play it safe this fight and put Vassell on his back. And now Vassell's got tremendous and really good submission game also. So that might be a path for him to victory. But I think Fortune might put him on his back this fight, and we could just kind of see it grind it out. Um, get the fight done, get it out of the way, get a win for Fortune. Is what I could see happening.
Yeah, like it might not be the most fun fight on the main card, but a W is a W. I could see that happening, but I can't even think of the last time Linton Vassell I saw him fight.
He fought Marks at 254, so it's been a minute at this point.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I mean, so I don't want to go by recency, but I mean that might be what a lot of the Bellator fans are doing based on the 68% picking him to win. I think I'm gonna fall victim to that too, and agree with you on that one. And then we got your home girl and longtime Grand Slam champion, Chris Cyborg versus Sinead Kavanaugh. She's ranked number 5. I mean, Cyborg's beating everyone on the Bellator rankings, which is why this fight is happening. She's literally going down the list. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't see her stopping.
No. I mean, without with not being disrespectful, I think it's just a bit of a one-sided fight. But in the history of MMA, you never know what can happen.
You never know, yeah.
You never know. And Cyborg's just like you said, she's beaten everybody else. I think this is kind of a bridge fight to eventually a Kat Zingano fight. But I gotta go with Cyborg.
Yeah.
I think if she wants to, she wins. Kavanaugh's tough, so let's say late second round finish. I'll give her that she's able to muscle her way and fight her way through the first round. But I think Cyborg eventually wears her down and beats her into submission in the second round.
Yeah, because she takes good time off between fights too. So she's recovered. She's well rested, and then she starts another camp. Whenever the contracts are signed or whenever they first announce the fights. I know Kavanaugh's a bit of she feels like she's got the power to finish her, but and like you said, you never know what happens in MMA, but yeah, it's just it's like she's got the rankings is like a hit list for her, and she's just going through them, so it's hard for me to pick against her.
Yeah. So that's the Bellator for we got to, is it, let me double check. So it's a Friday night card, Friday
Mm-hmm.
night. And then Saturday, we're not going to break down the whole card, but the main event's definitely worth talking about. Max Holloway.
The UFC Haley's Comet versus Max Holloway.
You're Rodriguez, Max Holloway. Rodriguez, whether it's been fake, false, drug failures, whatever. There's always seems like there's been something to
There's always something that keeps him away for a couple of years.
He's coming off his last fight was, 2 years ago now. So yeah, he's been away for far too long.
The Pleiades.
Max Holloway has never disappeared from the scene. Although he's had most of this year to recover from his last fight, a win over Kelvin Cutter in after the 2 losses to Volkanovski. I like Yair Rodriguez. I think he's exciting.
I used to like him.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of upside to him, but it's hard to be a fan of a guy who just doesn't fight a lot. But while in the cage, he is fun to watch. But I don't think now maybe this fight brings out the best of him and brings out the best of both guys, and we end up with just a back and forth. But I think if that happens, I think the toughness of Max Holloway, it might be way too much. I got to see if Yair's not just kind of a pretty boy who landed some jumping kick against
he does the video game moves and stuff.
I can't Smolk I think maybe he did it against, and then the
elbow against Korean Zombie and
the elbow at Zombie.
Yeah, that's all well and good, but it seems like the guy needs to take a forever break after every fight he has. Whether it be through, like you said, through testing or just injury recovery, whatever. And I don't blame
management. Who knows? Or like you said, maybe it's a lot of injury recovery, but he's just always out. But I'm gonna go with Max Holloway. I think.
Me too.
I think he probably finishes this fight. To be honest, I think he lands a lot of punches when he wants to land them, and I think the accumulation will add up by the late third, maybe early fourth round, and I think we'll see Rodriguez kind of crumble under it.
It's literally I see it going the same way Frankie Edgar did when he fought Yair Rodriguez, like just wearing him out and eventually into some sort of TKO or fatigue submission or something like that. Volkanovski actually predicted Max Holloway to win between the two of them too, so that's always good when you hear somebody that's that knows one or both of the fighters, kind of the way Eddie Alvarez called Gaiji and Chandler. So it should be a fun fight. I'm looking forward to catching it on Fight Pass when it airs on Fight Pass. So, but I mean that's at least not as many events in one weekend this weekend.
No, but a lot of good fights.
Yeah.
UFC card is worth looking into. There's Cynthia Cavillo, Andrea KGB Lee on the prelim female fight is
it's a good card for them to come back to Vegas.
Cool fight. So I think that wraps us up for the week, though. Get a chance to rest up, watch these fights this week, and then get going again next week. Check out the show at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Check us out at allaccessmma.com for our video podcast. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMAHawk21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Old Head Carb on Twitch. Hang in there throughout the chaos going on still in the East Coast. I know California here never gets better, but look forward to talking to you over the fights this weekend, Ed, and have a beer and relax.
Yeah, will do. Peace.
All right, brother.